Hello there everyone, this is Leon Diablos, recording a video about how to make your MMD videos look a lot really good. So, first thing you're going to want to do is load a model. Just for this one, we'll use Katie as an example, considering I use her so much. Taking longer to load because I'm broadcasting and I really need a new computer. And here she is. What you're seeing is what she looks like when you load her in normally. There's nothing special about it. Anybody can do this. Gonna add a background. If you're ever trying to do things really quickly, one thing that helps you out a lot is going to physical operation and turning off the physics until you're done making your video or whatever you're trying to make. Just so she doesn't look like she's just standing there all awkwardly. I'll load her in a pose. I have a lot of them. Accidentally loaded it in on the stage instead of on her. Not the pose I'm looking for. There we go. Now, something that makes your model look a little more alive is adding an expression, which is why you usually have sliders to change their expressions. Even something as tiny as this makes her look like she's alive a lot more than just having her eyes wide open like a weirdo. Anyway. Maybe we'll use their typical white sweater as well. Turn the physics back on. Make the gravity make it look like your hair is flowing to the right. You do that by going to physical operation and pressing the gravity setting. If their hair ever gets stuck on something or their skirt or whatever, you can press initialize body's position and it'll make it go back to normal. You guys see what I did there? I adjusted the camera's position. Have you ever had problems where maybe you zoomed in or zoomed out too much and the camera gives you a lot of problems? One of the easiest ways to bring the camera back onto your model if you're trying to make a picture is go onto this thing where it says none and press on the model that you're trying to get the camera on. Here it'll give you the selection of one of the bones you want to keep it on. You don't want to keep it here if you're trying to make an animation because it looks really awkward when you do it this way. But once you have it on the bone or the area you'd want it to be on, go back to none again, and now it'll let you just go around and it'll look better. when you try to, it'll be a lot easier to move the camera around when you're trying to make a picture. So now I'm going to show you what usually makes my pictures and my animations look a lot better. This is something you can see in generally any MMD tutorial, but I'm making this one for a friend of mine who was asking me how I make my stuff. How long have I been doing this? 5 minutes, okay. I'm using the free version of this, so I have to keep track of how long I'm recording for. So when you load that skybox in from the RayMMD effect, you're going to want to move the skybox all the way to the top. RayMMD is one of the most important effects you could possibly have if you want to make your stuff look really good. I know there's other shaders like adult shader and greener shader, and people will say, oh, those are faster to load, but this is the best looking one, and it makes the rest of them look like crap, honestly, in my opinion. I don't really see what the big deal is about NCHL shader. I mean, it looks cool, but this one's just 1,000 times easier to use, in my opinion. So after you load in Skybox, you load in the Ray controller, and it adds in effects, extra effects that aren't even, that you can technically download, but the coolest part about this effect is that it's kind of like multiple effects in one, not to mention it looks way better than generally any other shader, like I mentioned before. So then you'll load in the rate effect, and it'll take its time depending on what you're using. I'm using the 64-bit version of Miku Miku Dance, and it loads a lot faster than on the regular one, but it also depends on the computer you're using, and it depends on what you're doing. This loads a lot faster when I'm not recording, but it's taking a little bit longer than it normally would. But you thought just loading in Ray was going to make everything look great. It still looks the same, but a little brighter. Well, what you're going to do here is go to your effects, MMD effect. If you don't have that, then you'll have to download it off of learnmmd.com. But what you do here, you're going to go onto your model on the stage, and you're going to go into the main folder of the RayMMD. And you're going to load this here. You're still not out of the woods yet, because everything just looks super dark, and that looks really cool if you're trying to make something look creepy. Especially works if you use something like, say, autoluminous. Because then you can just make their eyes glow. We'll give an example with Katie's shader here before I go into the full effect of RayMMD. But for people who want to make their models look a little cooler or a little scarier, then this is something that works here. This is the form that signifies that Julia is the one to control and not Katie. See how it shines in the dark? Pretty cool. And I personally favor it. But anyway, once you load in other things, like I said, with main and Ray controller and the skybox, what you're going to do is you're going to go to environment light map, and you're going to go to the skybox and load this effect. Depending on whether you use the Grand Canyon or Helipad Golden Hour, you'll load in, for this is Grand Canyon, you're going to load the bottom one, it says Skylight HDR. Things should already brighten up and they shouldn't look as extremely dark as they are. Before I use the Ray controller to add a little more, I'm going to use this to make her skin look a little more realistic. Wrong thing. You can do that if you don't know what part of the body you're looking for. So now her skin looks shinier and more realistic with the lighting. Okay, now you're gonna notice that I just skipped ahead and everything looks a little shinier. You can actually see the sunlight shining on her. That's what this little thing from the ray controller does. Changes the lighting of everything so it looks more like she's actually standing in the sunlight and she's not just has a giant shadow looming over her life. There's other things here that you can use too, like vignette if you want to make it look like a darker kind of video. Or if you want to use this to make it look like you're... Okay, come on, this version. If you want to make it look like you're on drugs or something, or like you're having a trippy, cool experience, then this version is your way to go. You can move the background that you use with Ray Controller using this thing here. See how it moves? I know what some people are going to say. They're going to be like, but I don't want to use that backdrop. Well, you don't have to. Something that you can do is go to Effect Mapping. You can hide it by unchecking this little box right here. And then you can load whatever sky dome you want to use. These are some of my favorite ones right here. I found these on Bullroll. You can just look it up, find them by looking up sky domes on bullroll.com. You'll usually see these weird triangle things, but if you add the skybox material to them, on right here where I added the skin textures, the KD, then it makes it look a lot... Oh, I did it on the wrong thing, my bad. I meant to do it on the sky dome, not the skyscraper. And you'll see those diamond-looking things disappear, and now it looks nice and clear. And now she's in a gloomy night sky that fits her creepy ass eyes. Anybody who wants to add even more will use these effects. What ikLensGhost does is it basically looks like you have that sort of sun glare you would see in a movie. Depending on the angle, you probably won't even see it. But if you zoom out, then you usually do. You see that little bit of shine there? That's what it looks like when you look into the sun at a certain angle. Alright, so... For some reason her eyes went back to normal, but that's probably because I didn't register it when I changed them. Let's just make it straight up July in general. You can make their eyes look kind of like they're shining using ikcinemorph. It goes a little crazy when you first use it, but if you use these settings here, you can pause to look at what numbers I'm using. Then it looks a little more natural. One thing that my friend asked me also was how I used the aura effect and self thunder at the same time. These are two effects that I use. Give me a second. Sorry about that, my dog was barking. Anyway, as I was saying, something that I like to use a lot and that my friend noticed that I use is the auraparticle effect and the self-thunder effect. But that's pretty self-explanatory by just loading the auraparticle and then attaching it to a body part. The because this is Jelaya, that wouldn't really make sense because our main element is electricity, or at least for me, because that's how I write my character. I do a lot of things that are out of character for my characters, but depending on how I'm feeling right now, I'm just sticking to how she is. This effect is kind of like auraparticle, but instead of it being flames, it's electricity, which I think is pretty sick how they made it. Almost looks like Chidori from like Naruto or something. But yeah, you just add this here. Because it's super close to her and I don't want it to block her face, I do that. But if you wanted to use something that was like, say, self-thunder, when you load the self-thunder effect, you're gonna see these two things at the very back of MME, depending on how many effects you're using. Vertex Pose and Vertex Mask. You're gonna want to load, depending on which self you used, Self-Thunder 3 in this case. Save Pose. And Mask. You're gonna have to load the effect multiple times if you want to use it more than once, but you kind of get the idea. To keep it in this quality, you're gonna have to use the screen size. This is the best quality you can have without really screwing over your computer. 4K is out now, but considering how old this program is, it's usually not a good idea to do that. They've barely just started making plugins, so you can do that without waiting 24 hours just for a 500 frame video. But I'm pretty sure majority, if you're watching this video and you've gotten this far without getting extremely confused, you'll understand how to make a picture. MMD tutorial photo. This is how I make my stuff. Thank you all for watching, and I hope that this helps the friend that wanted me to make this video. There's a lot of others you can watch, but I'm hoping this one will be helpful for them. Until, leave a comment if you liked it, subscribe. I make a lot of animations and I make some gaming videos. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace.